At the height of the Cold War, as America raced the Soviet Union to space, many defense and aerospace companies made the Valley their home. The industry thrived, and a company in Goodyear called Unidynamics was at the center of it.
You would actually hear, not all the time, once in a great while, there'd actually be an explosion over there. And they would get government contracts for a lot of the stuff that they were doing.
Now, 40 years after Unidynamics opened its doors, all you'll find on the land where it once stood is dirt. Today, that same company that benefited from the old wartime spirit is paying for its mistakes.
The original source of contamination at PGA North was the result of waste disposal practices at the former Unidynamics facility in Goodyear.
PGA North is what the EPA calls the North Division of the Phoenix Goodyear Airport Superfund site, the spot Unidynamics called home for 30 years. The site is now on the EPA's National Priorities List for toxic waste dumps. The groundwater was contaminated with trichloroethylene chemicals, or TCEs, which the CDC says can cause cancer when consumed.
It was probably 30 years of waste disposal that created the problem, and it's been 20 years of our efforts to understand the extent of the contamination in order to define the remedy to go clean it up.
And in that amount of time, the contaminated plume of water has grown to a length of about 3 miles, forcing the city to shut down 3 drinking water wells. And the contamination is still migrating.
One of my drinking water wells is right over here.
Diane Krone has lived in Goodyear for almost 40 years. She saw Unidynamics boom, bust, and transform into a Superfund site. And she's been voicing her opinion as a member of the community advisory group for over a decade.
And you know, Unidynamics is right there, and my drinking water well is right there. So that's always something that I'm always in conversation with them about, to protect that drinking water well.
Now, the EPA is trying to better protect that well, with a plan to accelerate the cleanup that is a first for a Superfund site in Arizona.
The alternative that the EPA is recommending is a combination of iron particles mixing with microbial bugs to basically clean up the water.
With this technology, the Goodyear site could be contained in as little as 8 more years. That may seem like a long time, but it's better than the alternatives that could take decades. For Goodyear, this plan could mean more drinking water in the future.
Now what we want to do is go back and treat in where that contamination currently exists so that it will be gone and the aquifer restored.
Drinking water standards are stringent, but if the conditions are right, this method could improve the cleanup at as many as 7 other sites across Arizona, which would mean more groundwater as a source for thirsty Arizonans.
We have to be thinking about our water supply all the time, and because otherwise we're going to be endangered as far as living in this climate.
As the toxic remnants of Unidynamics begin to fade, the lingering past of the Cold War might finally become history.